All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Shepard, board certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. Welcome to the Healing Room. I am so excited that you're here with me. It's been a while since I've done one of these virtual podcasts and webinars, symposiums, if we want to call it that. I am so excited to be with you because this is a season where it is called the happiest time of the year. We're about to go into the holidays. We're about to go into Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Kwanzaa. I might even have some of my Jewish colleagues out there who celebrate Hanukkah. There's so many different holidays and festivities that are a part of this time of year. And it's supposed to be, as they say, the happiest time of the year. But let me tell you, it can also be the saddest time of the year because of the various losses that we have suffered within our own personal lives. This is such an awesome topic today because as we talk about this, I want people to know that this is a safe place. It's called the Healing Room for a reason because as we go into the healing room, we want to be able to talk about some of the struggles that we're having, even when it's supposed to be a happy time in our lives. There's going to be comments, there's going to be questions. I have some experts who are going to be with me today to share in this conversation. I want you to go right now and share and like this particular episode. So please stop what you're doing. Just push that share button, let people know, text people, let them know that this awesome time is online right now, is active right now. And you know what? Let me just say something to the people who are going to go back and watch the replay. Thank you. We're so happy to have you a part of this program. There's so many people, and I learned this so many years ago during the pandemic that more people will watch the replay than they will during the actual live presentation. So I just want to thank you for those who will go back and replay and show this again at a later time. So let's get started. We're talking about grief and hope. Talking about grief and hope. And as I was sharing that, this can be a really struggle, really tough time for people. Um, this is, in my practice, I see quite a few people who deal with depression, anxiety disorders, and they actually increase during this time of year, where you might see other specialties where people may not be involved in going to the doctor as often because of breaks and vacations. This is actually for psychiatrists and those in the mental health profession where we see an uptick in the number of people coming in because of so many different things, the time change, the fact that it gets darker later, and some people struggle with that seasonal affective disorder, but then also because of the holidays. Um, Remembering grandma who would be cooking that sweet potato pie, and now she's no longer with us. That recent death of a loved one, it might be a spouse, it might be a child. Um, I'm going to share some personal things with you today, even as I go through this, which I know will even be helpful and healing for me. I can remember even my grandmother, Mally Shepherd. She died just before Christmas. We had our funeral 2 days after Christmas. And let me tell you, my grandmother was a cook. Man, I wish I could get some hearts and some hand claps on that. I'm talking about some food that when you ate it, you felt better. There would literally be people who did not have an appetite, who was going through cancer treatment, and when the people ate her food, their appetite would come back. That's how good her food was. Um, so yeah, I think about my grandmother during this time. I miss those times with her and all the wonderful times and memories we had together. Um, Interesting enough, her husband, my grandfather, they had been married over 50 some years. He died the day after Thanksgiving. So holidays for me, I start to think about my grandfather who died after Thanksgiving, my grandmother. And then actually, I had two of my aunts and uncles, or one aunt and one uncle, to die just before Thanksgiving, within 2 weeks of each other. Um, yeah, I mean this thing is real. Um, and then I think even about my own 7-year-old nephew, Noah Woods, who he's no longer with us. Noah would have been turning about 13, I think, this year. Died in 2020, and it's just such a tough time. Um, I remember that day very well, and I think about his parents, who Cheryl and Tim, who I love, down there in Houston, and I will never forget that day, and not knowing what to say to them, and just really struggling with that. And I have admired their strength. I've admired how they've continued to go on, and be able to be productive for their other two children, for their families. Um, I tell you, grief is something that when it hits you, and it's not something that will just go away. You just can't shoo it away. I tell people that um, if you're going to love, then you're going to face grief. If you don't want to grieve, then don't love. You can't have it either way. If you're going to love, then grief is going to be a part of that. If you're going to grieve, then it's part of is in due because you love that person. And I tell you that that statement really is sobering for me, but it was very helpful for me. It also was helpful for me to be able to manage through grief, as I thought about my family members, and as I think about my family members during this time. So let me tell you this: this is a safe place today. Yes, there may be some tears that are shared. Yes, there may be some laughter, but it all goes well together. This is a safe place for you to be able to share. If you have some questions, if you have some comments, we would love to hear from you. We are going to take some of those for us today. But I just wanted to open up with that to let you know, look, we're going to be vulnerable, transparent. We're going to be real in this conversation, because in that, I know that it's going to help someone. It's going to help someone be able to get over and be able to manage. And I took back that word, get over. I'm going to say this before I bring my first guest. We don't get over grief. Let me be careful with how I say that. Grief is something that you learn to manage through. Um, we have to be careful to tell people, just get over it. You should be over it by now. Be careful of that content. Be careful of that language when you say that, because that is not even, it's not biblical, and it's not even scientific. So you kind of messed up on both ends. Grief is something that you learn how to manage. And if you're not careful, it will manage you. I'll say that again. If you're not careful, it will manage you. And one of my first guests is going to come on. We're going to talk about what that looks like. We're going to talk about what that feels like, and how we can work through that. So remember that as you're talking with that person, even as you're sitting down at your dinner table for Thanksgiving this year, remember that it's okay to be able to talk about good memories. It's okay to talk about. I talk about my grandfather, who was a wonderful man. My grandmother, my grandfather, I'm sorry, was a wonderful man. And these things are just something that I want people to be okay with talking about. All right, I'm going to stop here. I have a special guest with me. Um, Her name is Tiffany Murphy, and she's going to come on with me, and she's going to help lay the foundation a little bit more with me, to be able to talk about what it looks like to grieve. Um, some people don't know what it looks like to grieve. They think they do, and honestly, they may not be dealing, or they may be grieving, don't even realize that they're grieving. So let's bring on Tiffany Murphy. How are you doing, Tiffany?
God bless. I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. I was just sharing with the people in that opening just about some of the personal things that I've gone through as um, some things that people who have followed me for years may not even realize that, yeah, doctors grieve. You know,
Hmm.
everybody deals with grief. Grief is a natural human emotion. Um,
Yes.
before we get into that, because I almost feel our vibe right there about to go a different way, but I want the people to know who you are and your expertise before we go there, because I want to make sure that they know that you are well qualified.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Tiffany Murphy. I am a licensed behavioral specialist. I have been working in the mental health field for 14 years, and I am currently an outpatient therapist. I've worked with children as well as women and all adults throughout my career, mostly with families and especially families with children who have autism. But recently, I have delved into the area of dealing with grief. And I too have a story of my grandfather as well,
Mhm.
passing recently. And so I can definitely understand certain things and experiences that you feel as a therapist, as a licensed therapist, and also personally having grief touch my life. So I hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean, so yeah. Let's stay there and
Mhm.
and let's converse about this because we're going to help somebody. Somebody else lost their grandfather. Somebody
Yes.
may even be in the process of their grandfather transitioning. They may be in the process of a spouse transitioning. Um, what are the things that I think about are the different stages of grief.
Mhm.
And some people say, um, well, Shepherd, well, what's the hardest stage of grief?
Mhm.
You ever heard that question before? Like, what's the hardest? You know, what's so hard about these stages of grief, or what is the hardest stage of grief? What do you think is your take on that, Tiffany?
I have to be honest. I don't like to say any stage is harder than the other because
Mhm.
everyone's experience of the various stages are different.
Yeah.
But if I had to speak on that, it is very possible acceptance is the hardest because there's so many layers that come with once you finally accept it and it really truly sinks in the reality of the matter. I would have to say acceptance.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Hmm.
and it acceptance looks different for everybody,
Hmm.
if you would.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it takes a minute to even get to acceptance, to
It
be honest
does.
with you.
It
I don't know,
does.
want to elaborate on that?
Yes. So, okay, so acceptance is what is considered to be the fifth stage in the process. And
Mhm.
because there are so many um, ebbs and flows through even getting to that level or to that stage, and we know that grief is not linear, meaning you're not going to go stage one, two, three, and go in that perfect order. You can easily maneuver through and go back and repeat a certain stage. But once you do get to the place of acceptance, um, because it's like an onion and because there are so many things tied to you really realizing that a person is gone or a relationship is over or whatever it is that you're grieving, because grief is not just about the loss of a person, a loss of a spouse or a family member. Grief could be the loss of a job you worked for 20 years and you've had everything tied to that job. That job's part of your identity. That job may have been something you loved, you sweat for, you've worked for, and maybe you didn't see it coming. And so there's so many things tied. If you didn't see it coming, it brings about a certain feeling,
Yeah.
a certain uneasiness, a certain unsteadiness. And you've tied your future possibly, and you've already made plans for when you're going to retire and X, Y,
Mhm.
and Z. And so the stage of grief and where you are in your life at that point, at that time, and, all the other extenuating circumstances tied and connected to it. So that is why I also named it acceptance one of the hardest part, because you realize that there is no going back.
Mm,
There's sometimes you're in the lull of, this is possibly a dream. This is not really happening. And so there's a level of discomfort, but comfort, because it's possible that maybe if you go back and touch something and, it's going to change. But when you've come to the realization that this is what it is, um,
yeah,
it just can lead to other types of emotions.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
mhm,
thank you. You said, wow, you said some powerful things in there, and I'm going to recap just some of it. I love what you said about the lull that occurs, and that's where we find so many people. I even think about some of the people who I've talked to who recently lost children during this time. And one of the dear friends of mine, she has told me that a certain day of the month, she thinks about her child because that's the day of the week or the day of the month that her child died, and she
mm,
can almost feel it. There's even some times when a person may have died who was significant in our life, and you may be fine that one day and you hadn't even thought about it the next day, and
mhm.
then your body will then respond, and you feel like, well, what's wrong with me? uh,
Yes.
why am I weeping? Why am I crying? Why? And literally your body will tell off on you. It's so interesting. It's so interesting how with grief uh, will literally resonate and reside within your physical body.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wish I could say it like I feel it. Um, but, but it's almost like if you're not careful, you wear it like a garment.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. I agree. I actually experienced that separate. I also lost a boyfriend 2 years before the loss of my grandfather.
Mm,
And I just remember one day, and I just shared this, even with the client, I shared that your body remembers and your mind
mm,
remembers. When you don't remember, you remember. And so it's been years since the passing. And when they say life goes on, life truly does go on. And so a day can pass, and all of a sudden you feel a spirit of heaviness. And I
mhm.
remember calling my mother and saying, Ma, something, I don't know, I just feel so, I'm a high energy person. I'm a go, go, go person. And today I just can't. Do you know what
Mm.
I mean? It wasn't until the next day where I realized what the day before was. And it's at times mind-boggling how your body remembers the trauma and your
Wow.
mind remembers the loss, even when you're just going about life at times and just living,
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
yes, it's
yeah,
very true.
yeah, and so and I want to remind people that when you talk about the body, the physical body, the sense of smell is one of the five senses that we have in our bodies, and
Mhm,
sense of smell, in my opinion, is the most powerful sense that we
mm,
have. Because
mhm,
if you think about the anatomy of the body, there literally is a connection between your nose and the brain. There's no
mm,
other connection in the body like that, where literally there's called the olfactory nerve that goes
mhm.
directly from your nose to your brain. Why is that so important, Dr. Shepard? Because you will smell something and it will take you right on back.
Yes.
You will smell that apple pie and be like, "Oh my God, Grandma's not here no more." It
Mhm,
literally,
mhm,
it it happens. It happens. It happens. Your body remembers, and that's why this is such an important conversation, because this is not just healing of the emotion; it's about healing of the physical body too.
mhm,
Healing of your spirit, soul, mind, and body, because they all experience grief and they all experience it in different ways. There's another question. Thank you. This is so rich. Um, let's talk about what unhealthy grieving looks like, because we've been talking about how the body remembers the sense of smell, the lulls, and things like that. But um, there's some unhealthy grieving that's taking place, and so we need to think about that. So Can you help me out there, Tiffany, about unhealthy grieving, and then I'll join in with you.
Yes, absolutely. So, with some clients that I've worked with in the past, um, when I would see certain behaviors or certain words stated, or even how they're dressed, or their them being disheveled, or almost like a sense of not overcoming, even though you manage your grief. There are times where it seems as though it was yesterday that something happened and it was 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And although we, feel an emotion, and at any moment, depending on the circumstance, we can feel an emotion, the unhealthy or even the complicated grief, where it was as if it happened yesterday and now life has ceased to exist in a sense.
Mm,
um when dealing with pain and when dealing with grief, there are times where you can, what I'd say, pocket the pain, and you can go to work and handle your business, and then give yourself a moment in your quiet to feel the feeling, to shed the tear, but then you can wipe your face and gather yourself and continue. At times there are people who are still struggling with even being able to pocket it. And
mm,
that's when I would say it's unhealthy. It is completely taken over their thought, the constant rumination of certain events and life events and the loss of a thing or a person. And they can't seem to have healthy dialogue or healthy interactions with individuals um, after the loss. And so some of that can be seen, like I said, in how they dress, how they're living, choices, conversation, language, and things of that nature. So I always ask, the dates, the times, and, people's routine. And when you don't have a sense of, like I said, pocketing the pain and then giving yourself that moment, but it seems like the moment keeps on going, that's
mm.
when I would say that there's some deep rooted pain that is more than what I'd say bearable for the person to live a healthy life.
Yeah, yeah. I hope you all heard those highlights, and thank you. That is so key. Um, Now, I want people to understand that the grief, as we talked about, is to be managed, and we're going to get into another segment talking about that. But when you stop living and life continues to move on, and you stop living because of the grief,
Hmm.
I would think that that is a place where you need to check yourself to say, is this healthy or not? Is this healthy or unhealthy?
Hmm.
Yeah. You know, what one of the things that I make a statement is that grief will stop a person from living, period.
Hmm.
Grief will stop you from living. And when you have been stopped from living, and living doesn't mean that you're just existing. Let's be clear about that.
Hmm.
I'm not just talking about existing to where you wake up in the morning, you put your clothes on, you put your mask on, and you just no. I'm talking about living the abundant life, living, be able to go after your goals, be able to uh, enjoy life. There's so many people, Tiffany, that in my practice, they're living, but they're not enjoying life.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
just exhibiting, um, you know, a person who looks like they are existing, that they're a human being,
Hmm.
but they're not pursuing life. They're not pursuing after the things that God may have called for them to do. Uh, Being able to be that person that they have decided to become. If they're in a marriage, they quit being the spouse. They quit
Hmm.
being the child. They quit being whatever that role is that they were in. Uh,
Hmm.
that's a scary place to be when you occupy a position, but you stop being active in it.
Yes, because you're supposed to live life. God says he's experienced everything emotionally, even and mentally, that we would ever experience. And so we have to come to a place of, yes, we acknowledge loss, but when the acknowledgement of the loss and the loss seems to have taken over your life, then we have to question whether we're still fulfilling purpose, whether we're still aligned with who we were or are as a being, whether we're living. I have a podcast called Be Healthy, Happy, Holy, and Prosperous. Are we living a prosperous life even when we still do remember the loss? And I think sometimes people struggle with the idea of moving on because they have a sense of loyalty to whatever it is that they lost. And so to move on means you're disloyal.
Wow.
And to move on means that you've left them behind when maybe at the gravesite you promised to never forget them. But that's just not true. You actually, and this is how I've worked through my grandfather's loss, and even my boyfriend's loss, living life, because both were very vivacious people, very filled with life, very joyful, very purposeful. And so when I make choices and decisions, I always think of how can I honor them with the decisions that I'm making. And so, I know the type of person that they were, and I have things that I might mirror in honor to them, while also honoring myself and how I've chosen to live life. I have goals, I have dreams. But then, a lot of people, even when they're, you see a lot of families or parents who will do donations and different charities in the name of a person because that's their grieving process and that's how they're honoring them. And that too is choosing, in a sense, to live life while also not forgetting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's heavy. And we're going to put a pin there.
Okay.
I appreciate that, because I hear the cognitive dissonance. And I want y'all to go look up that word, cognitive dissonance. Struggle. I'm saying that I want to be loyal, but I know I got to move on.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'm going to pick that up because we're going to get ready for our next guest to join. Tiffany Murphy, you have done an excellent job. We're going to bring you back because we're going to talk about some resources. So those who are on here, I just stay tuned. Don't you go nowhere. This is a perfect time to make sure that you are sharing and liking. I'm loving the comments. Thank you for everybody who's out there. I wish I could call everybody's name, but there are so many people who have joined in. And my next guest is Pastor Misha, who's going to be coming on with me. We're going to continue this conversation. This is a great time to go ahead and share and like. If you haven't already shared and like this particular session, I need you to go and do that. Please, you know who's been struggling. You know who you've been dealing with, and it may be yourself. You need to make sure this information is being shared. This is the healing room. And so I invite now Pastor Misha into the healing room. My friend, oh my God, I am so glad that you are here. Welcome to the healing room. Come on, let the people know who you are.
Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity just to share, to participate, and just to create this dialogue and keep things going. So yeah, some good stuff from Tiffany. Yeah, it was awesome.
Absolutely. And we're going to move this train just a little bit further, because in this segment, we're going to talk about the coping and healing part. Now, we have talked about some of the healing because that's kind of natural.
Yes.
But we were really just talking about the symptoms earlier, how to be able to recognize what a person's going through who may be experiencing grief, and whether it might be I call it unhealthy grief.
Yes.
Where you might be experiencing complicated grief, or even in a depression, a depressive episode. But with that said, I'm going to just turn it over to you, Misha, because you have quite a story. And I'm going to follow your lead to how you want to share, and then we'll just continue the dialogue. Yeah. So take it, please.
First, there were so many things that you all were saying that I was in the, of course, backstage and just writing some things down that I hope later on we'll be able to talk, all three of us together.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like the coping or managing, or a lot of times when that first big hit, that first that big death, a lot of we've all experienced it, but the grandparents or the parents or the child or whatever, when that first happens, you handle it, one way. But if it happens, again and again, then you do start learning how to put some things in play. And so just
Mm.
to kind of give like a backdrop of some of the things that I experienced and then some timelines with that, so that we could really talk about it in 19, I guess I have to think about 1990, I believe in 96, actually, yeah, 96, my oldest son passed. So he was 8 years old. My oldest son passed at 8. And in that moment, when that happened, my mom, who is deceased now, but she was so impacted by it. I didn't have time to grieve. So
Wow.
she was grieving so hard. So you
Wow.
talked about that redirect, or I had to direct my attention to her. So I didn't get a chance to process the grief, right?
Mm.
I was so busy taking care of her because she just went down. Depression hit hard. And it was as if it was her child. It was literally mine, but it was as if it was her child. So I didn't get a chance to process that grief in that moment. And I think that's something too that we have to be aware, is that we have to allow ourselves to go through the process, right? Because as you said, it's going to show up. Your body's going to say it.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen that's going to show up in your conversations, the way you
Yeah.
respond to life. And so fast forward, in 2018, my children's father, my ex-husband, he passed.
Mm.
In 2019, my mom passed.
That's
In
right.
2021, my youngest son passed. So I've experienced parents, spouse, and children,
Wow.
all of those close proximity relationships. I have had, unfortunately, the opportunity to experience them. And all of them I've experienced differently.
Mhm.
And so you brought that up. You brought that up just in the last segment, that it's not going to be the same. Even the same person, myself, it's not going to be the same, but we have to allow ourselves to process it and to feel, to
Mm.
allow ourselves to feel it. The Bible tells us that there's a time to be born and there's a time to die. So these things are going to happen, but you've got to allow yourself to feel it. And then you have to, as the people that are in that circle, you need to allow other people to process. I love what you said. Don't tell people to get over it. Don't tell people how to process it. Don't tell them how they're supposed to handle grief. It's going to be different from everybody. But what we can agree to do is to be there for one another.
Right.
Ask somebody, what do you need me to do? I
Right.
know that you're going through it. I just had a good friend who just lost her mom. And I said, what do you need from
Mm.
me?
Mm. Let me ask this question.
Jump in there. Yeah.
Yeah, because thank you. And you just help somebody as to what to say when you
Mhm.
call that person. Because I'll be honest with you, it's difficult at times. You don't know
Mhm.
what to say. And
Mhm.
so you just said, well, how you doing? No, don't ask that question.
Mhm.
What do
Right.
you need? You know,
Yeah, I just
you know,
lost a loved one. So yeah, how am I
right.
doing?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I can remember. I mean, because we were close friends at that time when
Yeah.
your youngest son died, who I had a chance to meet, awesome young
Mhm.
man, and I remember calling you,
Yes.
and I didn't know what to say.
But
Um,
you did. You know what you said to me? If you need me.
yes,
That's what you said. You
wow,
said, if you need me. And I knew that meant just not only as a friend, but you also had the clinician or the clinical part of this for me. So I knew that you had professionalism, but you also were a friend. But you said that. You
yeah,
said, Misha, I'm here, if you need me. And
yeah,
that meant a lot because I knew I could turn to someone who had not only the anointing, but had academia that could help me when I need you, because I'm going to need it. So,
wow, wow,
yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah,
wow,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
that touches me.
yeah,
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 yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So
I
Go ahead.
I want to go back to something that you said earlier regarding your mom, because that's so key. Because when people are going through loss, and it may again not even be the loss of a person,
Mm-hmm.
it could be the loss of a job, it could be a loss of a position. I've seen that happen where
Correct.
the other people in the family are grieving more than you are, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, grieving more than you are. How help us to work through that, because I can feel that someone out there is just like that.
Yeah. So, again, like I said, that my mom, she and again, she cried for 7 days straight. She shut herself in the bedroom and cried for 7 days straight.
Wow.
And my mother was the pastor of the church, that we
Mm,
were attending in Indiana. And so church had to go on. And so I kind of was thrust into going to church every day and unlocking the doors to make sure the programs and things like that were happening. And I remember there was an individual who came by. They didn't know me. They knew her, but didn't know me. And they said, tell Pastor Shirley we're praying for her and the loss of her grandson. And I'm saying, oh, okay, yeah, I'll let her know
wow.
that she lost her grandson. But I also, when the word says all things work together for the good, in that moment, I needed the diversion.
Mm,
In that moment, I still had to function. Still had my youngest son that I had to raise. I had to go to work. I needed to handle, business so that I could take care of my household. So taking care of her or focusing on her was a healthy diversion, if I
mm,
could say it that way, so that
yeah.
I did not have to feel all of those pain points in that moment, and I still was able to function, because I probably would have, may have, spun out of control or something. I don't even know. But God knew. He knew what I needed. And in that moment, to be distracted by what she was going through, it allowed me to not have to go through it. But eventually I did take that moment to actually process, the
Yeah.
loss of them. And I do encourage people to do that. Take the time that you
Mhm.
can. I know people's job situations and business and things like that is different, where you may not be able to take that time off. But just as you plan to go grocery shopping and plan to do, any of these activities, plan time on your calendar to sit with yourself, sit with with God. I believe in God. Some other people may believe in a higher power. Just in this segment, I say that, but I believe in God. But sit with yourself, sit with the Maker. Go to counseling, whatever you need to do. But you need to take that time, carve out time for yourself to make sure that you are healthy and you are whole.
That's right. That's right. Wow. And know that your timeline is not your own timeline.
Correct.
So that
Correct. Exactly.
yeah.
And then something else too is I what I do for me. This is just me. I hope it helps somebody else. But I know those days. I know the birth dates that come up, and I know them because I'm like, just Tiffany said, I start feeling. I'm like, woo, something's going on, and I look at the calendar, and go, okay. But I put bumper pads around me. I don't schedule on specific days. I don't schedule
Mm,
to be in the presence of other people, because I don't know
mm.
where my emotions are going to be. So I don't know if I'm going to pop off on you. Y'all pray for me. This pastor talking, y'all pray for me. I don't know if I'm going to get quiet. I don't know if I'm going to be over, hyper. I don't know if I'm going to be hypo. I don't know if I'm going to be just reserved. So I usually try to plan to stay home, on those days that I know are coming up, so that I can protect my emotions and protect myself, but also protect other people. And I think we just need to be aware of that if you can, position yourself so that you're not, so that you're controlling you, managing you, but also protecting the other people that are around you.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, you're already dealing with one of the questions that we have here is
Mhm,
about what practices do you do to survive the grief, to be able to
mhm,
find purpose in the grief.
mhm.
And one of the things that you're saying is that's resonating is intentionality.
Thank you. Good.
And it's hard to be intentional when you're grieving, though.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
but I would even debate that, though, because some of us, we will do some things knowing that we're grieving
Hmm.
and go out of our way to even worsen the grief. I,
Hmm.
I hate to say that, but I've seen that. Um, you know, I see it sometimes when at funerals. I'm gonna tell you where exactly I see it. The family member comes up, and then the person who's be comforting, they go over and grab them real hard. And, come on, you know you want to cry. You know you want to cry. I
Yeah.
mean, they'll hug them so tight that yeah, I'm crying because it made me cry.
Right, right, right.
you know,
So,
it
some of mine came when people would reach out to me and say, "How you doing today?" And I'm trying to think like, "What's the day?" And then I'll go, "Oh,
mm,
okay, okay.
yeah,
This is the day I'm supposed to be feeling down. Now I've got to, So sometimes we, like you said, that person hugging you, those triggers from just conversations that you're not even
mhm,
thinking, you
mhm,
know,
mhm.
that would happen. So yeah, I like
Yeah,
the intentionality, being intentional. I appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate that.
so in your journey,
Mhm.
how did you discern the difference between grieving in isolation and allowing community and God to help carry the weight?
Yeah. So I think you all really talked a lot about the grieving and the isolation and what that actually does
Mhm,
for you. But when you talk about the community, I think that you have to, again, you have to be intentional of who's going to be in your community. Like not
mhm,
everybody is going to be in my community, and my circle changes. So my circle has changed since the loss of all these loved ones, and I think you have to be okay with that as well. So you're creating a new normal, and sometimes that new normal includes new people, right?
okay. Yes.
Your community may change, and so when you're grieving or going through this experience with your community, during those times where you know that you may be extra sensitive because of dates or whatever those triggers are, you want to pull people in that you trust, that you've built trust with over time, over this time. So for me, and I'll just say me, I have a few people that I will pick up the phone and talk and say, "Hey, it's not a good day for me," and they will pray with me, talk to me what's going on, and help process through those time periods. But I don't share that with everybody because, like you said, some people just don't know what to say and they don't know what to do, and then they feel awkward.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Mhm,
and you don't want people to feel awkward. You don't want to put people in that same position, where they don't know what to do. They feel helpless because you could cause them to start having negative thoughts and depression. You could trigger some things for them. So you have to be
mm,
mindful of that. So I'm very, very, I'm going to take your word again, intentional on who I bring close to me in those different times.
yeah, absolutely. And you have to be again intentional about it, but you also have to think about what you're just saying. There's some people who may be in your circle now, they may not be good for you at that time in that season.
Absolutely.
And as a friend, you have to recognize that. Um,
hmm
Especially if you have a close friend who's going through something like you're going through.
hmm
And could you imagine that what I sometimes see is this what's the what's the word trauma? The trauma bonding. There we go.
Oh, wow. Trauma bonding. I like that.
Grief bonding.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Grief bonding. Now
Yeah.
you might say, well, Shepherd, isn't that a good thing that when people who are grieving that they share with one another? It
Mhm.
can be if it's done in a healthy manner. But I'll
Mhm.
be honest with you, Pastor Misha, I've seen it where it has turned unhealthy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, You know,
Oh, yes. I
yeah,
lost a friend during my my son when he transitioned
mm,
because I don't, and I know what she was trying to do. She wasn't listening to me. And
mm,
my son, my youngest son that passed, he was my operations manager. And at that moment, and I wanted to share that too, because it was during the pandemic. And so he was running my business for me. And so when he passed, I had to go back to do business. I mean, he was the one who was over it, so somebody had to pick up the slack and go back, and work. And she was just, you don't need to do this, you need to do this, and she was just, really just heavy pounding on it what I need to do. And I kept telling her, hey, I've got to take care of this. I'm good. I'm monitoring myself. I've got my, checkpoints in place. I know what I need to do. I'm filling myself out of, but it was just so overwhelming and so overbearing that I had to cut that relationship because I was like, she's not listening. And I need people in my circle that are going to listen to
Wow.
me. So
Wow. No, that's good. That's good. That's good. And it takes some courage to be able to do that. And so
mhm.
I always pray that people have the courage. I want to take I have one more question for you. Then we're going to bring Tiffany back
Mhm.
on. Um, I want you to share with people how you were able to show up and how you're able to show up for others now as they grieve, both as a pastor, as a leader, as a mother. Um, yeah, just tell the people a little bit about how you are able to show up now because you show up.
So you say, so you say. I think one of the things that, again, you and Tiffany talked about, I started a Purpose Over Pain campaign. That was the one
Mm,
thing that God reminded me is that I did have purpose. And so even though the pain is there, the story still has to be told. And my
wow.
purpose still has to go forward. And so I had to focus on the purpose in order to make sure that the pain stayed in the place that it needed to be. It didn't alleviate the
Mm,
pain, but it put the pain where it needed to be. And my focus on the purpose allowed for me to elevate myself, my calling, my gifting, my spirituality into the place that would help carry me. And so a lot of times when I am in places, I really am God led. So I don't just go, I just don't show up just to be showing up. I show up because God has allowed me, has graced me to show up in these spaces. And I do need to just put a pin right there because this
mhm.
is something that happens so often. I get people who call me or reach out to me and say, I just met this lady. She's going through something. She just lost a son too. Can you talk to him? Eh, mm, maybe,
Mm,
maybe not. I'm not called to talk to everybody. I'm not called to minister to everybody. I'm not called to be in the presence of everybody. But when I am called by God, I will show up because he's already graced me to show up, which means he's got everything taken care of for me. All of my emotionals, all those triggers, all those pain points, he's going to handle it. And that's the reason why I show up. I think it's so important that you
wow.
have healthy relationships, that you have a healthy relationship with God, that you have healthy relationships, and that you are healthy yourself. Because when you are, then you can show up. You've got to take the time to get healthy. You have to, and that's how I've been able to do it. I'm honest with myself. When I have bad days, I'm honest with myself. I'm not having a good day. And I'm honest with me. I don't push myself anymore. I used to push myself past that. And we can talk about that too one day, Dr. Shepard, about church folks, because we try to push ourselves past stuff.
Woo,
We feel guilty because we didn't show up
yeah.
there. I feel guilty because we didn't make midweek service. I don't push myself past those pain points. I feel them. I know where they are and I understand them and I process through it so that I can be healthy in every point. So I'm healthy. My relationship with God is healthy and my relationship with people that's in my life, they're healthy.
Wow. That is so, ooh, thank you. Thank you. That is so key because you have to be careful that you don't just minister or reach out to everybody just because they ask for you to do it. And
Mhm,
so, thank you. I'm going to take that word for myself because
mhm.
people will look at your skills. People will see, even from this particular episode, oh my God, I got to call him. I got to call him. I got to call him. I got to call her. I got to call her. Um, yeah, you have to have discernment. And
Yes.
I'm very thankful that in this season and under the tutelage of my pastors I'm under now, I've been able to discern when is a good time to step in and when is not a good time to step in. And as a friend, and so I just want to encourage people when your friend is going through, is grieving, ask God for discernment of when to call. Ask God for discernment of when to just step back just a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And the Lord's been really dealing with me on following through on this is the great time to call. This is not the time to call.
Mhm.
And being sensitive. I think that's the good word. Sensitive to the voice of the Lord. Being sensitive to the situations, uh,
Mhm.
and don't overdo it. You know, just because you now are in a healthy situation doesn't mean now you have to go start a whole grief ministry.
No. Not if you're not called to it, because that's
It's like, okay, well, let me, I,
yeah.
I have the badge, so now I can just go out and just start a grief ministry. No. And I thank you for saying that, because I see quite a bit of that happening where people get drained,
Mhm.
and get drained doing good work.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh
get
yeah.
drained. Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you, especially if you've seen it, I've grown up in ministry all of my life, and so if you see it and you think this is what you're supposed to be doing, and then you may feel guilty that you're not doing it, or that somebody is grieving, and you say, oh well, let me reach in. Well, but now like I said, I've matured enough, where I know that not every assignment is my assignment, and I'm okay with that. And so, but I will pray with someone, but I also will let them know, there's some other people. I know there's a there's a Dr. Shepherd that you may want to call. I mean, I can introduce you to some other people that have gone to school for this, and this is where they're trained, so they know what to do and how to do. And that's, I think, is very, very important. So, mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. Oh man, this is great. This is great. This is great. If you haven't liked and shared it by now, I don't know what's wrong with you. What you waiting on? What are you waiting on? I need you to go ahead and share and like. There's been some awesome questions. I'm loving the dialogue. The comment section has been just jumping off. And we're going to invite Tiffany Murphy back on. As she's coming back on, I do want to address one of the questions that was in the comment, because it did come back to me. And that was, is there a difference between asking how you are feeling versus how you are doing? Um,
Oh wow.
I I don't know if for me it kind of sounds like the same, to be honest with you. I'm not sure how you all feel. I think either one of the questions, to me, I think you're going to get the same type of answer for a person who's grieving. How are you doing? How are you feeling? Um, I don't know what you all think. Just real 30 seconds here.
I'll jump in very quickly. For me, how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm not feeling 100, and I'm able to say that I'm not feeling 100, but I'm doing what I need to do. So I'm still moving. I'm still active. I'm still doing what I have to do, but I'm not feeling 100. And I'm able to answer that very quickly. Not feeling
Mm,
100, but I am doing. And I do get that question a lot.
mm.
Mhm.
Tiffany, you want 30 seconds?
I'm not sure if many people really think of the difference, but I do feel as though there's a different sound in feeling versus doing. Doing, I believe, has been repetitive. And so we have that automatic button of a response, where feeling is more, I view it as tapping in a little bit deeper, in a sense of reaching in the dark as
Okay.
a um but I think it might ring the same for most people.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Good. 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 We are going to take a few more questions. You have some questions, those who are live with us. We have so many people who are out there live with us. Thank you. I have some of my friends and colleagues. I even saw my pastor comment. So thank you. Shout out to my pastor, Pastor Karen Bethia, and a few other people there from my church. Um, Dr. Karen Bethia, she's Dr. Pastor. Amen. And so appreciate her support. Appreciate so many friends out here. I want to make sure that we spend time talking about resources. We've talked about understanding grief, what grief looks like. We talked about how to cope with it, how to be able to manage. So we want to be able to give the people some resources today. We want to be able to let them know where they can go to tap in. This conversation has been great to be able to help people be able to say, hey, we want to make sure that we are going to get help. I want to start this section out by talking about hope. If you look up the definition for hope, it means to expect with confidence. Um, there's got to be some hope that there will be more glad days than sad days. It's a desire accompanied by expectation of what is desired. And so that word expectations always sticks out to me when I think about hope. It means that it gives me an expectation of what I desire to happen. And that could be even hard in a time for people who are grieving. And they may not know what to expect. They may not know how to move forward. But I want to make sure today that we leave people here with the expectation that they can have more glad days than sad days. And I hope you hear that. The Lord really dropped that on me today. Shep, he just said, don't expect people to have all good days and all glad days. Have the expectation that there's going to be more glad days than sad days. And so help me out here. I'm going to share some resources that I have, but because I want to be hospitable, I want to share with my guests here. Tiffany, what are some of the resources that you actually do personally in your profession that you can share with the people today? And we want to make sure that we highlight them.
Okay. So first, I usually recommend people choose the type of support that they desire. Just like Pastor Misha was saying, her friend was trying to, I guess, show a type of level of support that was actually not helpful to her and cause a severance in the relationship. So you have to know, in a sense, of what type of support you want. And so I highly recommend support groups because of connection. But at the same time, depending on you as an individual and what you feel most comfortable with and whatever you believe your best processing for grief is, you could always find a specialist who deals with grief, a professional in your area. You can go online and different things. So I'm gonna give you a couple of ideas. So first, what you want to do is choose the type of support you're looking for, whether it's peer support, a group support, or something one-on-one. I don't always necessarily recommend my fellow body of Christ members and family to always go to your pastor, only because not everyone has the background and knowledge and information. And I know us faithful believers think our pastors are our therapists, but they are not.
Mhm.
Okay. So, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So,
You said, yeah.
but I will say you might, in your area, in your region, your church may have a grief group, or someone can recommend in family, in your church family can recommend, or a pastor can make a referral to another pastor who may have that background. If you want a one-on-one, if you're looking for peer support or group support. And depending on your area, you could also find therapy in your area. And so you can easily look that up, but first know what you're desiring. So you could do in person or online, peer support, professional help. You can go to, these are various sites you can go to if you're looking for online. One is SAMHSA, which that is a website you can go to, and they will help you, give tips, give tools, and allow you to do virtual. Some people are still uncomfortable with going in person. Some people are still uncomfortable because they don't know. This is a new area. This is a new space that, is being filled in their life. And a lot of us are more tech savvy now. And so you can be in the comfort of your home and go online. There's also another site called Healthline, which is an online grief support group. Okay. But like I said, you have to know what works best for you. I have clients, even myself, who they prefer virtual. And then I have other clients that want that face-to-face. They refuse to do online, or what we call telehealth. But there are many options. And there's also what's called the Miss Foundation. They give a list of different places that help with grief online, and that also do in person in different types of cities, as well as retreats. They're called compassion retreats. And so if you just go to the website, I'm going to say it again, SAMHSA. Also Healthline, which is an online grief support group. And then My Grief Angels will also give you a directory, depending on where you're located, on different grief groups in your area as well. One last thing, for me personally, my grandfather was in hospice. I was able to spend days in hospice with him. There were people in the hospice organization in which I was there that were also able to make referrals. So if your family members in hospice and you know even ahead of time certain things may not be going in the direction you would like to, and that you have family members that may including yourself, experience, certain levels of grief, and you're looking for support even ahead of time, you can receive information from the hospice organization in which your family member is in.
That's great. That's great. That's great. And I'm going to share some things with you. Tiffany, you may want to just type some of the things in the comment section if you get a chance. Okay. I did put the SAMHSA website in there just so people can have it who are going to go back and read the comments and look through this. I want people to know that I have my own podcast with Bishop C. Guy Robinson, Spirit in Mind podcast. We deal with a multitude of mental health topics that relate to the spirituality of a believer. That's why it's called Spirit in Mind. So we look at current events from a spiritual and mental health aspect. And so right there is the link. You can go to Linktree and download our podcast. One of the things I love about this podcast is that we're able to deal with so many different topics that are pertinent and are relevant to what's happening. And when we do our analytics, we come to find out that trauma is one of the key buzzwords, Pastor Misha, that people are looking for. Well, you might say, well, how does grief and trauma go together? Well, let me tell you, most people who are suffering from grief is because of a traumatic experience. And whether or not was it due to the loss of a loved one, due to the loss of a job, economic resources, with the government shutdowns, the economic uncertainties that we've had, inflation, since the COVID-19 pandemic, people have reset to a different norm, if you haven't recognized that. Even when you go into certain spaces now, people are more sensitive. People can't take as much, if you would. It's amazing that you can deal with people now, and road rage as you drive has skyrocketed. And it's amazing that you might say, well, again, well, Shepherd, how does road rage have to do with grief? You'd be amazed that when people are grieving, they will tune out what they're doing. They'll just be operating a car. They'll be operating a vehicle and just forget that they're even driving or other people around them and how they impact. I have seen that, literally. I have seen that. That's why we utilize various vehicles. Some use limousines and things like that, because that's a difficult task. It's not just to look good. They're literally trying to make sure that people can arrive to a service, get home from a service okay, because grief is so strong that it can even affect your ability to drive. It can affect your ability to do other things. I know I'm going down a tangent, but let me bring it on back here. I want to let you know that we deal with all these things in Spirit in Mind podcast. And so I encourage you to go and download those episodes. They will do you some good. And then I also have my own website, drjonathanshepherd.com. I am a licensed practitioner, a licensed psychiatrist, board certified. Let me just say licensed, board certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. I am certified to practice in the state of Maryland and in the state of DC. I do consider the District of Columbia a state, even though they haven't recognized it yet. They pay taxes just like everybody else. And so my practices are in both areas, in DC and in Maryland. And I have a slant toward Black men. Over the last year, I have been taking care of more Black men in my office than I have ever had before, Pastor Misha and Tiffany. It is amazing. And so I have a special niche, if you would, for Black men. And I'm thankful that the persons who I work with allow for me to really stress hard on making sure our Black men are doing well mentally and emotionally.
Yes.
So look me up, hit me up, drjonathanshepard.com. Now, if I don't have a license in your state, unfortunately, I cannot provide services for you. I want to make that clear. So I don't want people to say, well, he presented this information today. I present this information today so to stir you to go look for people, to get you to go get the help that you need and be able to provide the healing that you're looking for. But unfortunately, if you don't live in Maryland or DC, I won't be able to practice or be able to provide those services for you. Maybe one day I'll get a license in these other states, but for right now, those are the two. So those are just a couple of things I wanted to share with you. If you're experiencing, number 3, if you're experiencing suicidal thoughts of not wanting to live, people do experience that during grief. We want people to know that 988, just like we have 911, when there's an emergency, this is the emergency. 988. Remember that. This is for Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. They're not there to judge. They're not going to ask whose church you go to. They're not going to ask, who's your parent or what. They want to hear from you. 988. And one of the things that I have the privilege of working on in DC is we are putting up more signs at the bridges. DC has some wonderful bridges, very Gothic looking, if you would. The architecture in DC is wonderful. But what I did not know until I started working there is people use these bridges as a launch pad to complete a suicide. It's so sad. And so what we're doing now is posting these signs and even building some taller fences. And let me tell you, just having the sign up, we have seen a decrease in the number of suicide attempts and completions. Wow. And so I want people to know that, yes, this number works. Yes, you as a faith believer, you as a pastor, you as a leader, you should know this number, 988, Suicide Crisis Lifeline. You should have some information about this because people need to know where they can go, and they continue to work through this. The current administration, the current Trump administration has not touched the funding for this. I just want to be clear about that. They've touched other things, but they have not touched the funding for this because they recognize the impact that this has on all people and all ages. And so make sure that you know what this number is, 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Pastor Misha, why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you do, and then we're going to get ready to get up out of here for this evening. Thank you all for staying with us.
Yes. Thank you for staying with us. And I do want to say too, that somebody made in the comment, pastors, if you do not have the background, then learn the resources, create your own resources and make sure that you have them readily and available. I have a lot of people that come to me and ask me, do I know someone? And I'm able to rattle off several psychiatrists and psychologists in our area so that they can go to, and a lot of times people want to go to people that look like them, feel like them, so that they can relate. And so I'm able to give that information. So I want to encourage all pastoral and spiritual leaders, learn your resources. You cannot handle everything. And I also want to give a shout out to the Church of God in Christ, which I'm a part of, because the women's department is doing a lot now with mental health. They actually have mental health sessions with licensed practitioners that are certified, and different people who are experts in their area. So I want to say shout out to the churches that are increasing in mental health, because this has been an area that we have fallen back on, or that we're running behind our counterparts. But we're getting it together. We see the need and we understand it. If we can pray and we can fast, but we also need to go and sit before somebody that has some clinical experience. So, but you can catch me every Sunday morning at Conversations at 7 a.m. on Facebook or YouTube. I do that podcast, for lack of better words, every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Or you can catch me on the replay. And so you just go to my Facebook page and you can find me there. I'm doing a whole lot of other things like that, but I'm just going to only give you that one there because so that you can find me. But we just take the word of God and we break it down in practicality. We make it as simple as possible so that you can understand it and then apply it to your everyday life. And it's not something that's just so, just shove it down your throat. We want you to walk it out so that you can be a better person and better contributor to society.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, we're going to get ready to go here. We have been here for the last hour, a little bit more than an hour, and I know that people's attention span begins to wane. I want to make sure that I, again, acknowledge everyone who will go back and watch the replay of this. I want to make sure that you know that we appreciate you. We get so many more views, typically triple the number of views once we post it, because that is just how wonderful the network that we have and sharing. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for doing this. I want to just give Pastor Misha and Tiffany 15 seconds. What would you say to the people in the end? And then I will close out. So 15 seconds. I'll start with you, Tiffany. What would you say to the people as we are closing out?
I would say that there is no shame in feeling specific emotions or having certain thoughts. The grief is a process, and your process might just be different, and that's okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's great. All right, Pastor Misha, what would you say?
I just want to remind people to make space for healing. Take the time to carve out space for yourself so that you could be the healthiest person that you can be, so that your community can be healthy and that you have a great relationship and healthy relationship with God. Take the time. It's worth it. You're worth it. Don't forget that.
Wow. Wonderful. Whew. That's great. That's some healing right up in there. And I love the fact of how you all have shared your stories, because what I hope is able to come out through this is that people can see that you are able to reminisce, you're able to remember the stories, but you're also able to talk about the healing. And that's the thing that I want to emphasize today, that there's hope, that there's healing. If you look at the definition in my closing of the word or the definition of mental health, it means a state of being where every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Let me tell you, that definition is so powerful that I literally have taken it and I have used it on almost every speaking platform that I have. Because when you understand that your mental health talks about your potential, your ability to be able to know your untapped skills and possibilities that lie within you, and then able to utilize that to cope with the normal stresses of life. And when you're coping, you're not just getting by, but you're coping with success. You're able to overcome. You're able to overcome and manage the grief. Yes, the grief is there, but you're able to overcome it and not remain stuck. And then you're able to, if you have good mental health, that means that you're working productively and fruitfully, not just working to get a paycheck, but you're working with purpose, as Pastor Misha told us, and not just in the pain. The pain might provoke you to the purpose, but you're working it out through purpose. And that is so powerful. And then at the end, you're making a contribution to your community. Everything that you go through, there should be a contribution. There should be an end result. There should be a product that God is working out in you. There should be something that people can say, yes, I saw Pastor Misha. Yes, I saw Tiffany. Yes, they saw Dr. Shepherd, Dr. Jonathan go through. But when you look at their lives, you can see how they were able to sustain, how they were able to make it through. And hopefully that will encourage you. We want to let you know we've been where you are. And we know that this particular season today that we're about to go through with the holiday season, it may not be the happiest times for you, but let me tell you, just like every season comes, every season will go. And so we want to let you know that this too will pass, but we want you to know it will pass with you being healed. We see you being whole and we see you doing well. And we want you to know that your mental health is so important. Thank you for joining us. This has been an awesome session. Thank you for the comments. Reach out to us. Thank you for being sustained listeners tonight. And thank you for visiting the healing room. We'll have another session. Stay tuned. Thanks again.